Well, Canada has become just the second country in the history of the world to fully legalize the sale of marijuana, as well as the recreational consumption. Much like young Americans, young Canadians increasingly can't afford to buy homes or start families or even have cars. More and more of them are stuck living at home with their parents, whom they will make less than as they get older. These are huge problems. No one is even thinking about how to fix them, but at least young people will be too high to notice. Maybe they won't complain. Is this idea coming to the United States? Of course it is. Mason Tvert is a spokesman for the Marijuana Policy Project. He joins us tonight. Mason, thanks a lot for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Does it bother you when big business and government align to make young people more passive and compliant?
Well, it bothers me when government creates foolish laws that destroy the lives of countless young and older people alike for using a substance that's objectively less harmful than alcohol. And, you know,
right.
Marijuana's out there. So rather than forcing it into the underground market, criminalizing people for using it, let's actually control it. Let's regulate it. Let's treat it more like alcohol and do what we can to minimize the potential harm around it.
Right. I mean, well, we're not doing anything to minimize the harm around it, obviously. We're never going to do that. In fact, it's become more potent. And by the way, I would concede that in a lot of ways alcohol is more threatening than marijuana, for sure. But it's also less deadening. And that's kind of the point about marijuana. Government isn't in the marijuana business because it wants to minimize harm. It wants to make money and tax revenue. But it also wants to keep young people passive and stupid and less likely to complain and revolt when the economy they've created doesn't serve young people. You don't see this?
I think it's actually kind of an absurd notion, seeing as marijuana has long been associated with younger people revolting. I mean, marijuana became popular in the 60s during the anti-war movement and has
Mason,
long been considered
do you smoke a lot of weed, Mason?
Like,
come on now. I grew up in California. I know what marijuana is. It does not make you more likely to do anything, is the truth, as you know. I know firsthand, and I know you do too.
Stereotype.
It's not a foolish stereotype, it's reality.
That's like saying everyone who enjoys a cocktail after work with their friends is a lush. It's just not true.
Well, I'm not arguing that.
Who use cannabis. It's not a big deal. I mean, the last few presidents, we've had Supreme Court justices, we've had countless business people. I mean, it's not a problem.
You're totally missing it. You're totally missing it. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing it is a problem for people to smoke marijuana occasionally. I don't think it is. I'm not a prohibitionist by temperament at all, and I'm not a neo-Puritan, unlike everyone on the left. I'm just saying if you make it legal, many more young people will use it much more often. This we know. It's true of everything.
That's not that's actually not what we're seeing. If you look at Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, every state that's made marijuana legal has not seen an increase in teen use.
That's not true, actually. And spare me the fake numbers.
It's a fact.
But it's actually not a fact.
Talk to the state governments in each of those states.
Okay. But let me just ask you, though, overpopulations, it is true that marijuana, and this is a clinical matter that has been studied longitudinally a lot over decades, makes people less likely to act. It makes them more passive. And I'm just saying, if you were running a system that was not serving young people, serving them so badly, a lot of them became socialists, wouldn't you want them passive and spacey and out of it? And wouldn't you also want to collect the tax revenue and continue your alliance with creepy big cannabis companies? I mean, that's kind of what's going on, right?
I honestly, I think it's bizarre that you want the government to use this as a way to criminalize a whole population of people and control the people.
But that is what they're doing.
You want it to be a crime for adults to use a substance less harmful than one that's legal for you or me or anyone to use.
But what I'm saying is marijuana already was effectively decriminalized in most places, not every place, and there are people who did jail terms for weed.
Hundreds of thousands of Americans are arrested every year for marijuana possession alone.
No one in most places is arrested for a joint. Look, we had a don't ask, don't tell policy in a lot of places.
Several 100,000 Americans are arrested every year for marijuana. They announce it. It's a fact.
But hold on. You could very easily, in effect, decriminalize it for small amounts without legalizing, which means every time I walk through Times Square, someone is hitting a vape or smoking a joint, which is what it is now. I'm saying it's a totally different thing, as you know. But big companies want to profit from this.
Don't you see what you're saying is that it's illegal in Times Square? The point is that prohibition is not doing anything.
I'm saying it's already been decriminalized. as you know. Like in New York City, in Washington, D.C., it's legal and people smoke it on the street. People smoke more
it's
when
not
there's
legal
less of
to
a
smoke it on the street,
sanction.
and if you do, you're going to get cited just like you
You're
would
wrong.
if you were
You're
drinking
totally
a beer
wrong.
on the
You
street.
don't, I thought you did this for a living. That's not true. You don't get, nothing
Tucker,
happens
I will
to you
give
when
you
you
$1
smoke
million
weed in New York.
if you can prove it's legal to use marijuana on the street in New York City
but
or
you're
DC.
not. You're missing my point. It's not enforced. As you know, de Blasio said to cops, I just talked to one about it, it's not enforced. So that's better than legalizing it. The only thing that will do is make it more
This is the
common.
most absurd thing I've ever heard. You're denying facts. It's a
you're
fact
denying
that
reality.
thousands and thousands of people are arrested in New York every year for marijuana possession. It's just a fact.
What
and I
you
just don't
are
understand, like,
doing,
you think it's this conspiracy
it's not a
to dumb down
conspiracy.
America.
Well, it's literally that, but it's also a conspiracy of people like you to get rich from selling it. Let's be honest. This is big corporations trying to get rich from getting kids to smoke more weed, and I'm sure you've got a piece of it. Don't give me that personal freedom garbage. This is another corporation.
Do you think alcohol should be illegal? Do you think it should be illegal? Do you
No,
think
of course I'm not saying it should be
and
illegal.
Anheuser-Busch
We're already
are
here.
evil corporations and that they're just out there to destroy the world?
I think that
and make
people
money?
who not to destroy the world, but I think
that?
people who push.
You think that alcohol should be illegal?
No, I'm not saying
and
it should be illegal.
that
I'm
these
saying there's a middle
companies
way.
should not be there to provide
I'm not flacking. Right, yeah. A product is just a product. No, it like destroys people. I've seen it. Anyway, we're out of time. I wish we could keep going because you know what I'm saying
Please
is
have me
true.
back.
Good to see you. With the fall election nearing, we're taking a closer look at the candidates that Democrats have